Hello, everyone. Welcome to Esoteric Shifts with me and my fantastic friend Sherisse Marie, where we talk everything supernatural that we experience in the spiritual awakening journey. And today we are going to talk about what happens when we start coming back into alignment in our spiritual awakening journey when we have been off alignment for some time. So I'm super excited to talk about this thing, Sherisse. So,
Hmm.
what do you say? What is this about? The whole alignment of alignment thing. Let's hear about it.
Yeah. So I think you and I have both, and everyone that we know in the esoteric space, in the just in general, like people, when we are in alignment with our mind, our body, and our spirit, the three brains are all going together, the brain, the heart, and the gut. When we have that in alignment, things just seem to flow. Life seems to flow. It's easy, it's peaceful, it's calm, it's whatever. And it can be very, very juicy when that happens. But
Mm,
when one of them goes a little astray, what happens is you come out of alignment and then it feels like everything screeches to a halt. And I think everyone can relate to that in some way, shape, or form.
yeah.
And it can be absolutely terrifying. And just the thing that I want everyone to know before we go any further
Yeah.
is that it happens to all of us. And in the most cases, the only thing you need to do is just deep breath and just kind of like run that energy, that energetic shift or that energetic pulse from like the top of your head, your top chakra, all the way down to the bottom chakra, and then back up again. Just repeat
Mm,
that over and over and over again. That is the fastest way to return balance to yourself. And then just
wow.
know that sometimes, no matter how balanced you think you are,
Yeah.
there is a shift happening within you that it feels aligned, but it's really not. And
Mm,
that's okay. It will come into balance and you'll figure it out sooner rather than later. It just might take a while, but it
wow.
will eventually happen.
Wow.
And so you just have to kind of think of it as waves, right? And you and I talked about this a lot, right? It's all waves. You got the peaks and the troughs, and you're coming forward and going backwards, and the
Yeah.
combination of all the things ends up creating something that is, it feels chaotic and it
Mm-hmm.
feels terrifying in the moment, but it's actually divinely inspired, and there is a method to all of the madness, even if we don't see it. I think you would agree to that, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. You
Yeah.
touched upon a lot of important aspects when it comes to alignment. Like, you did mention the personal alignment part, which we are responsible for, but then the universal things are going on. Cosmic forces are at work, shifts are happening, energetic shifts. You know, sometimes it's just the cycles of the moon which is doing things in our body. New shifts keeps coming, you know, and
Yep.
and yeah, it is like really about riding the wave. And this is one of the most important thing when it comes to the spiritual awakening journey, the alignment. Because anybody who is on the spiritual awakening journey immediately starts understanding that, okay, there is something about me that needs to be aligned, because when it's not in alignment, something feels off, something feels ungrounded. It feels like everything that I'm doing is coming from a place of misalignment, so I might be going in the wrong direction. And you first put yourself together before you put your life together. So would you like to share, Cherise, what was a little bit of the time in your life where you experienced misalignment, and how did you come back to life? Let's hear your story.
Yeah. Um, so I just want to add too, because I
Yeah.
think I neglected to mention this, and I know you
Mm-hmm.
didn't just mention it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you are misaligned, that franticness can take over, and then it's much, much harder to get back into alignment. And the reason I'm
Mm.
starting with that as part of this story is because that is something that absolutely happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and pretty much every time I go out of alignment and I freak out, and it's like all panic stations, and then it makes it harder to come back into alignment and to get back into flow and to get back into a place of calm peace. So, for example, I'm going to use the big one. When I um, divorced my husband, um, during the divorce period, I was very, very tightly controlled. I was completely focused like a laser on just getting through the next day and getting through the next day and getting through the next day, which can avoid certain things, let's be honest. Um, but that's to your detriment because then the second you start to relax a little bit, I started to relax a little bit when my ex-husband, now ex-husband, actually
Mm-hmm.
moved out and we started to make, you know, real changes in our relationship and, dealing with our son and all the things. And as that happened, I kind of took this big sigh, like, and immediately all of the out of alignment that I had been experiencing for the 10 or so years of trying to make that marriage work
Mm-hmm.
had caught up to me instantly. I got an autoimmune disease. I could no longer work. Um, I ran through my savings. I tried to be a coach, and I'm still a coach. Kind of refound my spiritual side, which was a very big blessing in my life. I refound my love for esoterica, for past lives, and palmistry, and all the things that I had given up to remain in that marriage that wasn't ever going to work. Um, and one of the things that really affected me for a very long time was that I forgot this lesson, which I had learned several times already, but I forgot it so badly that it took me over a decade to recover from it. Like you've known me for most of that time. It is well, not quite about a decade to overcome it. And it has been an absolute journey of
Mm-hmm.
slog for most of that. Despite the fact that I was doing the work, despite the fact that I was feeling like I was in alignment for most of that decade, despite the
Mm-hmm.
fact that um, things were seeming to be on the right track spiritually, um,
Mm-hmm.
the right track was actually a different track than I was meant to be on. And
Mm-hmm.
so when I fully came back into real alignment, which you helped with, and thank you for that. And when I fully came really back into alignment, kind of end of last year, beginning of this year,
Mm-hmm.
an awful lot changed for me. And one of the big shifts was the ability to um, have revenue coming back into my life, the ability to attract the right clients, the ability to seize opportunities that I would not have seen
Right.
previously, the ability to recognize things in ways that I couldn't have before, and the ability to create more. And I
Right.
really, really want to encourage anyone who is struggling in their um, dark night of the soul to
Yeah.
truly, truly recognize that it comes in ebbs and flows.
Mm-hmm.
It's waves, it's the cross waves, it's all the things, and you really need to um, be a little more flexible and a little more open to the
Mm-hmm.
idea that where you think you are in your journey is potentially different from where you actually are. And that's what's causing the misalignment between the
Yeah.
three seats of your soul. And when
Mm-hmm.
you come back into alignment fully, things seem to just flow a little easier, right? You're able
Mm.
to cut through the waves in a different way. That's all. That's all I've got.
Wow. That was that was fantastic. Moving forward, before we move forward, I would like to let our viewers know that Sherisse, when she mentioned that when she came back into alignment, she started, coming online with all her gifts. And one of her special gifts is past life regression. She's a past life regression therapist. And one of our very recent podcasts in Soulpreneur Symposium, I invited Sherisse, and she talked all about her past life regression therapy experiences with many of our clients. And if you are watching my channel, go visit the podcast. Link will be in the description of this video. In that episode, she just talks about amazing stuff. Different planets, reptilians, people who experienced their past life in that, the festival, the Woodstocks, like crazy stuff. Go watch it. Link will be down there. Okay. Now, Shays, like,
Absolutely.
I'm glad you mentioned about this, like, what happens after coming alive. And it's not always an easy journey coming back. Right. For me, I remember that, I had been out of alignment for about, I think, like, a good amount of years because I was going through my dark night of the soul. But I was trying to make money. I was trying to, do business. I was like, I'm on my entrepreneurial path. And the last thing that I did 3D wise, was my productivity coaching business. And I remember in around 2019, that was the time when I also met you, and from a different business. I remember interviewing you because, like, let's, understand what your productivity problems are. And that is when you shared about, like, you just finished a past life regression therapy with one of your clients who was a reptilian lady in the past life, right? And that's how we connected, right? So I remember that, even that time, I was experiencing a lot of dissonance. It was one of the moments where I was about to end my productivity coaching business, and the misalignment that felt was like is sometimes you feel like a complete dissonance and disconnect from what you're doing. A lot of people who are at the moment experiencing a lot of disconnect from their 3D work, from their 9 to 5 job, or the company that they're working, or the relationship that they're in. You start coming like, there's a disconnect from your soul. Your soul does not feel at home, right? And I remember everything made sense what I was doing. Like, I was like doing the right things, making the right moves, I was finally reaching to international people. I had clients too working. I'm like, I'm going to make money and I needed to make money. But my inner being was resisting it. It wanted to just run away from meeting. It was like, it just wants to run away. When your energy pulls back from something, I think that is the biggest sign that, you're out of alignment. And it doesn't always make sense. Your intuition screams, but your intellect is like, but it makes sense. And that is the biggest dilemma a lot of people, yes, a lot of people face. And I
What is
think
off in that direction? Yeah.
what is off in that direction, right? And I remember that when I finally, your body, like, I remember very recently I, had a podcast with both our good friends, Corey Thorell, and he was also saying that when he spirit spoke to him and he didn't listen, he got sick and he was hospitalized. And now you mentioned that when you came back into alignment, a lot of things dropped in, and for me it happened. I got into the dark night of the soul, which was supposed to happen anyways. But, like, when your intuition screams and you do not understand like why it wants me to leave everything, like, for you know, me, it was leaving the productivity coaching business. For you, it was probably leaving the relationship. For Cody, it was leaving his show business. And a lot of people are like, I'm well settled in my life. My relationship looks superficially fantastic. I have a job, I have steady income, I have this going on. What the world needs from me and expects from me, I have it. And my intuition is like, that is not it. I need to leave all this and jump from a cliff. And it is the most craziest thing. I know I jumped that cliff. The day I stopped my productivity coaching business and I had to endure my dark night of the soul, face it head on for the next, year or so. And then the next time I met you was after my dark night of the soul. I came out of it and I'm like, hey, you know what? I went through this. I think I'm a life coach. Actually, you said that, Debjit, you're a life coach, and that's how we
You
started.
didn't even have a name for it. You're like, I'm doing a thing. I don't know what it
I don't know
is.
what. I was like, my higher self is saying, guide people towards inner harmony. What am I, Sherisse? And you're like, Debjit, you have become a life coach. I'm like, I don't know what that is. It's crazy, you know. And but then there was so much alignment. Then there, I finally found myself home, and I'm telling to you and everybody listening. Before that, the last 10 years, I have done one business, another business, sometimes multiple business, and I never felt at home. In a year, I would pivot to three different businesses, and nothing would work anyways. But after 2020, this is 2025. I'm very bad with years. I had to check the years of 2025. And I'm like, it has been 5 years and I have not budged from this. There have been a lot of challenges, a lot of financially excruciating moments, and yet the power that comes from alignment kept me on this path. And Sharice is a testament. You and I have been from the beginning. And this is what happens when you feel at home. You feel like this is it. I found home when I came here. I'm like, now the journey is like an adventure in Star Trek, but I have found my place in the Enterprise. Like that is how it feels, right? So Sharice, I
Hmm.
want to ask you this, like, for viewers who are watching this and they're thinking like, I am feeling precisely this. I'm feeling that where I'm at in my job, in my relationship, or in my personal life, there's a disconnect. My intuition is screaming that there is something off, and I am willing to listen, but it means that I have to jump the cliff. It does not make sense. It does not make any sense. It's scary. I am afraid. What is going to happen to my life? What do you have to say to that?
Um, so I used to have a Facebook group, and I'm going to tell a story. I used to
Right.
have a Facebook group for The Shift, which was the name of my program.
Mhm.
And I don't really do that program anymore, so I let the group kind of go off into the distance. But um, one of the things that I used to talk about all the time was just this. And the analogy that I used, which is kind of my favorite one because I love Indiana Jones,
Mhm.
was from the Last Crusade, where he's looking for the Holy Grail with the Nazis and his dad and the, I can't remember her name, the
Mhm.
cranky blonde lady. Um, and he's trying to pass all of these tests because his dad's been shot and he can hear his dad groaning out in the hall. I don't know how he can hear him from all that distance, but he can hear his dad groaning from the hallway. And so he gets to the edge of the cliff and he can't see a way to go across, but he knows that there is a way because the the prophecy or whatever it is tells him that there is a way to get across this. Um, and so he's trying to figure out what the way is, and he's looking at it, and from head on, there's nothing. There is just this big chasm that is like 100 feet across. There's no way he can jump it. No way at all. Like no one could possibly jump it. There's no ropes that he can use to get across. There's no nothing. It's just this big empty wide space.
Mhm.
And he's like the path of the penitent. I think this was the path of the penitent man. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Um, and as soon as he got to a different angle, because he went down and looked kind of like this, and suddenly he saw it out of the corner of his eye. And there was actually a bridge from
Oh.
one side to the other. But he couldn't see it from his original angle. And it's the same thing
Mm.
in all of our experiences, in
Mm-hmm.
all of our lives. You have to get to the right angle. And sometimes that's a little tricky. You have to kind of like maneuver your brain a little bit, which is not always easy for some of us. Hi.
Mm-hmm.
But it is incredibly rewarding because when you are able to spot the bridge,
Yeah.
it makes everything flow really, really
Mm.
easily.
Wow, that was fantastic. That was fantastic. I think, you know, one of the best bridges, or if not the only bridge that allows us to jump from that cliff like Indiana Jones is our inner guidance and our intuition, you know? Bec-
Absolutely.
that's what starts coming online the moment we start choosing alignment. Your intuition is like, finally this person is listening to me, and now that they're listening, that I can continue delivering the divine guidance to them, which will allow them to make the jump and move from this place to another place in the way it's supposed to happen, right? But then again, what happens after we come in alignment? A lot of changes happens, right? For me, I remember, like, although my life had been different, I took the path of entrepreneurship and did not take a normal, job and everything, but still things changed like crazy after I became a spiritual teacher and a coach. I started living from my intuition and inner guidance. And it seemed like I shifted to completely different timeline, than from other people who were not yet following their intuition and their guidance, right? And a lot of things started to happen which is out of the syllabus. Like, you expect, like, this is the time this happens. You grow up, get educated, get a normal job, to get promoted, get married. By this time this happened, by this time this happens, and you have the syllabus, 3D syllabus laid out in front of you. After the spiritual awakening thing, it's like, a whole different book opened up. I'm like, and I don't know what the book is about. I don't know what the syllabus is about, and the timeline is different. So I look around people who are the same age as me, who look the same as me, but they're different, living completely different lives. For example, right now, a lot of my friends are getting married. A lot of my friends have a normal 9 to 5 job. I see a lot of similarities in their life, you know, and I feel like an alien. I feel like a lot of things in my life are not relatable. I don't have their job experience, I don't have their life experience, and I don't have any of those things. But then I meet my people, like you and our soul family, and suddenly there's so much connect. Like they get me, they speak my language, they understand me. It's like there's a two timelines, that like train tracks going different way. But when you start coming into alignment, and you're in the first time your train tracks is going in the other way, and you have to live with, 3D people, it's a very daunting experience. You have not found your soul family, you have nobody to relate with, and you are like, I am the weird one, I am the black sheep of the family, I am whatever, lost my mind or something. What is going to happen? Did you feel something like that happen in your life, Cherise? Can you relate?
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a couple things there. The first one is, yeah, as you up level, um, people will fall away. And sometimes it will be very obvious that they've fallen away, and sometimes it will just be kind of a gradual thing, and before you know it, they're gone.
Mhm.
Um, and that can be really daunting for a lot of people if they haven't yet found the new people that are going to take that place.
Mhm.
Um, One of the other things is um, sometimes you have to be open to how the new people are going to show up in your life.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're not going to be physical people that you can touch because,
Mhm.
oh, I don't know, maybe they live on the other side of the world and there's been a lot of COVIDs and things going on. And,
Mhm.
actually meeting in person is a little tricky when you live on other sides of the world. Um,
Mhm.
and then the other piece is, um, just the whole idea of having to let go of society's expectations for you, and maybe even
Yeah.
your expectations for yourself,
Mm. Yeah.
right? Like, this is not how I envisioned my life being when I was in my 30s and my 40s. I had a career. I had a lot of success in that career.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty well respected, and
Mm-hmm.
giving that up meant giving up a piece of me. Would I do it again in a heartbeat? Yeah, I would. But was it terrifying at the time? Heck yeah. Because, and I think you can agree to this,
Yeah.
letting go of the self and the person that you thought you were going to be
Mm-hmm.
and the future that you thought you were going to have is very bittersweet,
Yeah.
but super, super exciting as you move
Yeah.
through it.
That is true. That is true. Because, letting go is always difficult because you are attached with that. Your whole life you looked forward to. It's basically comfort, a certainty. This is how it's going to happen. This is your train. This is where it's going to reach. Suddenly you don't have those things, but then you have something exciting, because you got bored with that journey and you were not resonating and it felt extremely uncomfortable, right? And you are right. It is bittersweet, but then you get truly excited for the next adventure and you truly come alive. You're right. Now, that we are reaching almost the end of our episode, we have a few more minutes. I would like to ask you, Shays, like, that for people like who are feeling that, I remember recently in my threads, one person said, like, how, what tells you immediately that if I am off alignment? Because when you're in the beginning stages of feeling off alignment, we are not entirely sure because we have been living from off alignment for a long time. It's not easy to be sure that this is like normal stuff or this is truly off alignment. For somebody who is like listening and is thinking like, hey, I think they might be off alignment, but I'm not sure of it. What would you tell them just so that they're certain?
I'm going to give them my answer, and then I want you to give them your answer too. And I think they're
Yeah,
going to be very similar.
yeah.
I would say that the biggest way that you're going to tell that you're out of alignment is that, and this is going to seem weird, you actually start to hurt yourself because you are having accidents. And here's how that looks. You stub your toe weirdly. You bang your shin on a piece of furniture. You walked into a wall. You weren't paying attention and tripped over a pair of shoes, or anything can happen, but you start to not completely inhabit your body correctly. That's usually
Mm,
your first indicator that maybe that something is coming out of alignment and you might need to come back into alignment.
yeah.
Um, the other one is when you start to feel your mood shifting from your normal point
Mm-hmm.
into either an irrational happiness or an irrational frustration and anger. Either one of those is usually an indication that something's coming out of alignment. You might need to take a look at it. Not that there's a
Mm,
whole lot that you can do about it aside from ride the wave and give yourself lots of grace
mm-hmm.
and be aware.
Yeah.
Because until you figure out what that new normal looks like and what the new alignment needs to look like,
Mm-hmm.
it can be kind of a bumpy ride. But that's my answer,
That.
is those are the two biggest things that I see, both with myself and with other people, is, suddenly they're showing up and they've got bruises all over themselves, or they've smacked themselves in the face with something, or whatever, or they're snapping at people, or they're
Yeah.
really hard Annieing. Um, that all of that is completely a
Abs-
telltale giveaway sign.
wow.
You?
Wow.
What's your answer for that one?
I can relate. I can relate. I think like one of the easiest clues, like, like it very much in line with what you were saying, is like friction starts coming up in your experience because, when your gears are not aligned, they are going to rub against each other, of course, right? And you start experiencing friction. I think the first sign would be, if you're like heavily misaligned, you're not paying attention to your emotions because, usually emotions are the first sign. You are going to experience friction everywhere in your life, like Sherisse was mentioning. Like, you are going to see, things are just becoming difficult in your life. Simple things are just becoming insanely difficult to do. It's like you are having to climb life, like, you're climbing a mountain. And every aspect of your life, from your relationship, everything, there's friction. Things are not smooth, things are rough, and it increases and it keeps increasing. You're having fights if you are that kind of a person, but if you are a very introverted person, you're having internal fights. You're getting depressed, you're getting like that, and or you are getting very angry at people, you're getting angry at yourself. But there is chaos and disharmony, and it will keep increasing, and it will keep appearing in your external life, in terms of things not working out. And life will make you feel like, this is not your way, until you're like, oh, okay, the friction is too much for me to take, and I understand this is not my path, right?
That one is, it gives you subtle signs until it uses a two by four, I believe is the expression.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Most of
So
us,
pay attention when it's the subtle signs,
it's
not the two by
usually
four.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But most of us, I think, like, like for me, we need to get hit by the 2x4 before we get to listen to the subtle signs. We get the health challenges, we get the
Yeah.
whole thing. And I was like, okay,
Absolutely. Yeah. All the two by fours. Thump,
yeah,
thump, thump, thump. And
that's
then
right.
maybe I might pay attention. I'm
And
one of the worst for this, so I totally feel all of your pain. If you are also
absolutely.
in that bucket, please comment down below because, oh Lord, do we not want to feel like we're alone on that journey? So,
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing, Shays. Now, before we, wrap up our podcast today, I would like to, introduce Cherise and her special gift of past life regression and how it can help you bring into alignment. Because many times it happens that there's a lot of, misalignment that is going on that is connected to your past life, right? And Cherise has worked with many people who have discovered the misalignment that just does not date to this life, dates back to lives before. And once that thing is realized and understood, integration happens normally and you can return back to alignment. So, would you like to share a little bit with our viewers? How can past life regression therapy, something you are, and you truly gifted at, can help people come back into alignment?
yeah. So one of the things that I've learned from helping almost 200 people now, that seems like a scary big number, but almost 200 people now,
Wow.
with past life regression is that, how do I say this? Even if you don't believe in past lives, even if you don't believe in reincarnation, even if you don't believe in aliens or other worlds or the life between lives or any of that stuff,
Yeah.
um, past life regression can still help because what it does is it allows your subconscious to show you things and
Mm,
have you manage, overcome, deal with things in a way that feels non-scary and in a
mm,
way that's really visceral to you, not to someone else, but actually for you, which
mm,
is hugely important. I know that a lot of people that I work with, they come to me and they're like, I don't know if this will work for me. They've done um, Akashic records. They've had other people read their past lives. They've done things, but they've never experienced it for themselves. And they're like,
mm,
it just feels like there's something. else that's missing. And I'm not sure what that is,
Hmm.
but I really just need to know
Yeah.
what that thing is that I'm missing in all of this. And
Right.
usually what it is we can be told that the stove is hot 900 times. But until we've actually touched the stove, we don't know that
Yeah.
the stove is hot. And it's the same thing with our subconscious and with the things that our spirit guides, our higher self are trying to tell us.
Right.
Um, we can have that information provided to us 15 ways from
Hmm.
Sunday.
Hmm.
And until we viscerally experience it in our bodies,
Hmm.
it doesn't become real. It doesn't become the truth. And that's pretty cool. I'm blessed and honored that I
Yeah.
get to assist people on their journey in that way because that's really a lot of fun. So,
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much
assist.
for sharing. I had my past life regression done with Sherisse, and I knew that, cool things did come up. And I didn't know that, man, like such a lot was present in my past life. So if you are somebody, who is truly feeling called to get your past life regression done, work with Sherisse. All her contact details will be in the description of the video, right? Your website, everything. Just contact Sherisse, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be
Absolutely.
fun. We'll have fun together. We'll go fly kites, as one of my girlfriends likes to say. Kites together because it's so much fun.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you are somebody who is watching my channel, if you want to receive a free discovery call with me, at the moment I'm, you know, offering 1 hour free discovery calls where I get to know you, understand your spiritual awakening journey, and guide you to come back into alignment. If you want to have your free discovery call, just go to the link, the description, book your free discovery call, right? And if you
Absolutely.
have enjoyed everything that me and Cherise have shared in this episode, then leave comment, ask us questions. We both will be more than happy to answer your questions about everything, to come back into alignment, to everything. And so if you have enjoyed this video, then do subscribe to my channel, give this video a like, and I hope you are going to see us again soon in another episode in Esoteric Shifts, right? So
Awesome.
thank you so much, Sherisse, for being part of this conversation. Looking forward to having another exciting conversation in another episode of Esoteric Shift really, really soon. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So have fun, guys. See you again soon. Bye bye.